can start. We talked about the flared chest, we talked about pulmonary contusion, and I wrote it down, the pattern of breathing. Everyone make sure we all know Kussmaul breathing. What is a Kussmaul breathing? I wrote it down here. It's a fruity acetone smell. When do we have fruity smell? When your patient has ketoacidosis, and that means Kussmaul breathing. When we are saying giant stroke breathing, that time when patient is dying. And I wrote it down, they breathe, stop, breathing, stop. So it doesn't go breathing regularly. So they're breathing and all of a sudden stop. Then they breathe, then they stop. That is called giant stroke breathing. They're stopped in between the breath. Tachypnea is fast breathing. Bradypnea is slow breathing. And when you have tachypnea, that means they are also having a breathing problem. Bradypnea. Where do we see the word bradypnea? Patient with ICP. When do we see tachypnea? More patient is in shock. Remember those two wording? And so I wrote it down here, the word Kussmaul breathing, fruity acetone breath in mostly acidosis, metabolic acidosis. Giant stroke breathing near the death. When patient is breathing and they stop, then they breathe, then they stop. That's called giant stroke breathing. Tachypnea word is always the fast breathing. And bradypnea means is the slow breathing. Now I just wrote down the few wording and you guys can write it down. And I'm going to move on to the next page. 11 is on pneumothorax. What is a pneumothorax word is simple on number 2 on this page. The word is pneumothorax means is the collapse of the lungs. So lungs have been collapsed. So anytime you see the word pneumothorax, pneumothorax is collapse. Let's go back on number 1. What is in number 1? Pleural space result in intrathoracic pressure, and underline the word reduction in vital capacity. So when patient has collapse of the lung, and underline the word, what is collapse of the lung are pneumothorax. So when we see the pneumothorax, the lungs have been collapsed. What happened to the lungs when you are not able to breathe is always, answers are there, is vital capacity of the lung has been reduced. Now there are two kinds of pneumothorax. There is one open pneumothorax and tension pneumothorax. What is open pneumothorax means is opening through the chest wall. That means there is opening. There may be injury. And underline the word entrance of. What is entering? Outside. Positive. The wording atmosphere. Outside air. Pressure in the pleural space. Now what is open pneumothorax? The air is coming in the lungs from outside in the injury. So that is called open pneumothorax. I want you to underline entrance of atmosphere, outside air. It's just understanding of the word. So what is open pneumothorax? Patient has open injury, air is going in and the pleural space and causing what? Collapse of the lung. What is tension pneumothorax? Maybe from blunt injury, or underline the word mechanical ventilation. Now, when I do in a Spider-Man package and there is a wording, what is the complication of mechanical ventilator is pneumothorax. So patient who is on pneumothorax, mechanical ventilator with PEEP, it builds up the pressure in the pleural space and cause the, what is it causing? Is the pneumothorax. So how do we get the pneumothorax? Number 1, outside air, and that is called open pneumothorax. Inside is creating by tension pneumothorax. What is tension pneumothorax are? By 2, blunt injury or mechanical ventilator. Everyone is okay to wording, and that means the lung has been collapsed. And how do you diagnose them? By X-ray. Now I will go intervention, but before intervention, let's move to data collection. Now 2, 3 wording are very important, and I will read all of them, but number 1, When first sign of pneumothorax are absence of breath on the affected side. So where are the affected side? You can't hear any lung sounds. Are we clear? So what is it? Number one, sign of pneumothorax, there's no lung sound. Absence breath sound on the affected side. If they're saying patient has right side pneumothorax, you can't hear the lung sound. Now, then you move on, and it says the word in the bottom, second line, tracheal deviation. Trachea move to the unaffected side. Two things very important we all should know. Number one, absence of breath sound, and tracheal deviation to which side? Unaffected side. Are we clear? So those are important. Then you go chest expansion, second line is unilateral. Decreased chest. Chest is not expanding. And next line, shock. Patient is having hypotension, tachycardia, tachypnea, chest pain. So everyone, what is the word pneumothorax? We all know is collapse of the lung. How does the lung get collapsed? Open pneumothorax from outside injury, air goes in and causing collapse. Tension pneumothorax is coming from complication of mechanical ventilator or blunt injury, leading to what is collapse of the, yes?
What does tracheal deviation look like?
Trachea is just shifted because of the pressure. Deviation means the position. So it's shifted on the unaffected side. That is, the word is deviation. Deviation is not in the same position, shifted. Are we clear? So that would be on tracheal deviation and absent breath sound. So those are very important. Now what do you do if patient has pneumothorax? Number one, if there is injury, you cover the dressing and over the chest wound, give oxygen. And third one is important, they may need the what? Chest tube. So third one, write down where it says chest drainage, are the chest tube patient would need. Next is, in the next page, we will move on to the word acute respiratory distress. Very important wording, patient has acute respiratory distress. The meaning, patient is going into the respiratory distress. So wording, acute respiratory distress word is heart, the lung fail to meet the body oxygen requirement. And I want you to remember one thing, patient did not have lung problem, but all of a sudden, patient has acute respiratory distress. So it's secondary, it's not a lung problem. Now, which patient you will see patient has acute respiratory? The meaning is something else is going in the body. Underline the word shock. Underline the word next paragraph, burn. Patient got burned. So that means patient is in shock. Something is going on and now patient cannot breathe. So when they're giving you a question, patient has acute respiratory distress is here. Is syndrome. What is acute respiratory distress is, remember the word secondary. Always keep that in mind. Secondary means lung was not having any problem, but something happened to the patient and patient is struggling to breathe. Now, for example, let me give you, it says in line 3 is burned patient. Now what happened, patient is burned is secondary. And what do we say when patient burned? First thing is airway, remember? And so what happened? Patient never had a problem, but because patient is burned, the problem is what? Is respiratory distress. So when we are looking at the question, and why is it important? When we have pneumonia, we have COPD, we have pneumothorax, we all know breathing problem. But when the question are acute respiratory distress, means something is going on with the patient and patient is not able to breathe. What are the reasons for acute respiratory distress? Could be sepsis, an infection. Number 2, fluid overload. Maybe you have too much of fluid. Maybe is drowned, shock, trauma, burn. What is disseminated intravascular problem are? Is called DIC. What is DIC? Intravascular coagulation. And patient is being bleeding disorder. and leading into what disseminated word is? Bleeding and clotting disorder. Patient is going into shock and patient is struggling to breathe. Everyone is okay? What is acute respiratory distress is not primary lung problem, but something else going to the patient's body. Patient may be going into shock, maybe patient is bleeding, maybe patient got burned. And what do you maintain first thing? ABC, airway, breathing, circulation. Whenever we are saying respiratory distress, what would be the first sign? Underline the word hypoxia. What is the first sign is? Hypoxia. Patient has acute respiratory distress. Patient is lacking of oxygenation. And what is the word hypoxemia? Is in the blood. So that means it's really patient has very low oxygenation. Next word, I want you to underline the word sternal. Add the word L, S-T-R-N-A-L, sternal and costal. What is a costal word is? We use the word intracostal. Now, a lot of time in your question, they don't complete. And they are saying, is costal retraction. Sometimes they didn't give you any word, and they're saying patient has retraction. Retraction means the muscles are going inward. And when the muscles are going inward, patient is not able to breathe. So what is the sign of patient has respiratory distress? First thing we already said, hypoxemia, but number 2 is very important. And what is sternal? This bone is our sternum. What is intracostal? The muscles between those ribs. And when patients are breathing, you can see they're using those muscles to breathe. Everyone is all right? So what are the signs of breathing problem are when patient is in really in distress, respiratory, intracostal retraction, and sternal retraction. The meaning is they are really trying to use all the muscles to breathe in. And in the babies, you have heard nasal flaring. Are we clear? So what is in the babies are nasal flaring, costal retraction, and sternal retraction. Anywhere you see the word retraction, you are looking for respiratory distress syndrome. I want to go, before I move in hypoxia. What is the early sign you will see when patient has hypoxia? What is the early sign of hypoxia, lack of oxygen? Restlessness. So what is the early sign here? They are become restless. Patient become agitated. Early sign. What is the late sign would be? Cyanosis. Are we clear? So cyanosis comes later. Early sign, patients start become agitated, and restlessness, sign of hypoxia. So everyone is okay. Sign of acute respiratory distress is the word retraction. What is the meaning retraction? These muscles, the sternal, intracostal, in between the ribs muscles, patients are trying to breathe in and they're really struggling to breathe. And that is one of the signs of your respiratory distress. What would you do when patient has a decrease? It says pulmonary breath sound. You can't hear good lung sounds, and patient has cyanosis, patient has restlessness. The word is hypoxia, but very important is sternal and costal retraction, and in the babies, nasal flaring. What do you do? First thing, number 1, cause. Why cause is important here? Why? Because position. Mostly what is our position when we have patient with breathing problem? Fowler's. Are you going to put here a patient is burnt with Fowler's position? No. You're going to be hyperextended. If patient has a lot of fluid is gone and patient was drowned, maybe you're going to put in a prone position. So remember your first answer as patient cause, and whatever the cause is, positioning, identify the cause. Number 2, give oxygen. You got to give 100% oxygen. foulest position, prone position, or special bed to turn your patient in different position. Maybe you need a steroids, maybe need surfactant to open up the lungs. If they have a lot of fluid, maybe diuretics. And what do you do? The blood gases. Are we clear? So what are we going to look? Patient who's really have the word hypoxemia, you can figure it out with pulse oximetry immediately. What should be done? ABG, arterial blood gases. So only everyone just keep in mind when there is a question, patient has respiratory distress, acute, that means there's something else is going with the patient. And you got to treat that cause first, and then you monitor ABG, positioning, giving oxygen, and treat the cause. Because patient in the burn is a different position, you're going to go position. A patient drowned with the fluid, you're going different position. When we talk about other reason and the lungs have pneumonia and this, we go on mostly Fowler's position. So everyone, acute respiratory distress is secondary, and sign and symptom of acute respiratory distress may be one word retraction, maybe sternal retraction, intercostal retraction, nasal flaring. I will move into pulmonary embolism. Very important, we all should know pulmonary embolism here is, and what is the pulmonary embolism comes from? You have three reasons here. In number one, fat embolism. What is fat embolism comes from? Fat embolism comes from where? Fracture. Patient fell, patient has a fracture. What is the first thing we are doing here? Preventing pulmonary embolism. What do you do when patient fell first thing? To prevent fat embolism, immobilize. Write down the answers, immobilize. So what do? Immobilize. Now we got to connect. It's a one body, a whole different system. Here question is, we are talking respiratory, but here we comes here where? In the skeletal system. Patient fell. What do you do? The first thing we immobilize. And why? To prevent fat embolism. What happens when the bones break? That fat from the bone, it travels and it is going to circulate and block the pulmonary artery. So what do you do to prevent? Don't let your patient move, immobilize your patient. Number one. Number two is immobility and thrombophlebitis. I want you to add there DVT. We are talking respiratory, but going here in cardiac or circulatory. Where do we get the DVT? From circulation. And which patient are going to get embolism after cardiac problem, surgery? Which are the patient who will be high risk in thrombophlebitis? Remember, again, fractured patient, surgery, because the clot is there, any kind of surgery, abdominal, hip surgery, and patients who are laying for longer time after the surgery, we are getting what? Thrombophlebitis. What is the sign of DVT and thrombophlebitis is? What is the sign? What is the sign of thrombophlebitis and DVT? Pain on dorsiflexion. Pain on dorsiflexion. So remember, is we are talking lung problem, but coming from where? Circulation. So number two cause. Number three, we talked about air embolism in dialysis question. And that goes in renal. And what is air embolism come? Maybe from IV, maybe dialysis, and add there TPN. You're giving fluid. Air is going into the vein and blocking and causing what? Embolism. So there are these three. We got to learn to connect our question, and patient is getting is what? Pulmonary embolism. First thing we all know, the main reason are fat embolism, DVT, and air embolism. What do you do for air embolism? We talked about in renal chapter, and stop IV or stop dialysis. Turn the patient to the left side and lower the head of the bed. This only you will be talking about preventing air embolism. Are we clear? Now, what are the signs of pulmonary embolism? We talked about why pulmonary embolism comes. Everyone should know air embolism is important, coming from dialysis, coming from IV, coming from TPN. Fat embolism comes from fracture, and DVT is from circulation when we are not moving around. Now, the next is, what are the signs of pulmonary embolism? We all know, immediately we say cyanosis, chest pain, all that. But I like it, the first thing, early sign is petechia over the chest. You will see more petechia sign over the chest and the axilla. The veins in the neck are distended. Write down the word shock is there. And what is in the shock? Hypotension. Highlight the word tachycardia. There may be only one word, sign of pulmonary embolism, tachycardia, tachypnea. Patient has dyspnea. And write down the word is dyspnea, chest pain you have, restlessness. So when patient has fat embolism, is leading pulmonary embolism. They're going to have what? Is number one, they're going in shock, remember, and they have hypoxia. But early sign, I said petechia over chest. Everyone is okay? Petechia over chest. What is the sign of shock? We all know the blood pressure. They may not throw the blood pressure. They may say patient has tachypnea. And another sign is restlessness. Why? Because they're not having enough oxygen. So we already have petechia, tachycardia, dyspnea. I want you to add their restlessness. Chest pain you have, and restlessness is early sign. Cyanosis will come later, and dyspnea. Now, what do we do for a patient here is, I want you to write down also, patient when they have pulmonary embolism, they're going in respiratory alkalosis. And what is respiratory alkalosis comes? Hyperventilation. Hyperventilation. Now, sometimes there may be a straight question, and they're saying patient has pulmonary embolism. What are you monitoring? Respiratory alkalosis. And what is respiratory alkalosis? Remember, hyperventilation. Whenever we are hyperventilating, that means patient is going into respiratory alkalosis. Next is, I want diagnosis. To add their diagnosis, how do we diagnose them? By pulmonary angiography. We add their pulmonary angiography. So how do you diagnose them? By pulmonary angiography. Now, there are nursing management. In nursing management, what do we do? The first thing as a nurse, high Fowler's position. Turn the patient in Fowler's position. Second thing, you give oxygen. Never pick up by cannula, you go by mask because you want to give 100%. Next is you can give them pain medication. And the last thing, you underline the word thrombolytic medication. What is a thrombolytic medication? Or maybe streptokinase they can give, or heparin. So remember, the word is, a lot of question may be either heparin or streptokinase. And this can be given IV, but this is the one is thrombolytic medication. All right. Now, pulmonary angiography is done. What do you do as a nurse? Your patient has petechia over the chest. Question, patient has sign of pulmonary embolism, or patient had a fracture and you already see patient has petechia. That means immediately you know patient is going into pulmonary embolism. What do you do? The first thing, raise the head. Second thing, start oxygen. And third thing, pain medication. Fourth thing, you can give heparin, or you are giving a thrombolytic medication. Now, there are another method of treatment, and I want you to add there, they put the umbrella-like filter. So write down the word filter, like shape in umbrella, and they're putting the filter. Is more like umbrella shaped filter. And what is this filter does? And is umbrella like filter, and where do they put it in? Write down the word vena cava. They put it in the filter, and this filter breaks the clotting. Umbrella-like filter breaking up the clot into the small pieces. So they are putting the filter. One of the treatment, and that is treatment on embolism. And second treatment they have is called pulmonary embolectomy. Pulmonary embolectomy, embolectomy, embolectomy. They're removing the clot. Let me repeat again here. We said if there is a question, patient has petechia over the chest, that's the early sign of pulmonary embolism. What are the other signs of pulmonary embolism are? I said patient is having hypoxia, they're not able to get oxygenation, restlessness, chest pain, cyanosis, but also what does the patient has here? Shock, they're going in, tachycardia, tachypnea. What do we do as a nurse? First thing, the positioning. Raise the head of the bed and you give them oxygen. Use the word by mask. Don't pick up cannula because you're not giving enough oxygen. And you can give heparin, you can give pain medication. And if they ask how do you diagnose them? By pulmonary angiogram. And how are the other treatments are is called filter, like a shape of umbrella, and they break the clots and filter the blood. Another one is called pulmonary embolectomy. Patient has pulmonary embolism. Everyone should know patient is going in what? Respiratory alkalosis. And why? Because they are hyperventilating. So that's one answer. We are covered on that now. So that is very important. Everyone should know. But remember, your questions are never going to be what is pulmonary embolism? Question is going to be patient fell, patient has a hip fracture. Patient start petechia over the chest. What are you monitoring? Pulmonary embolism. What are you going to do the first thing? Elevate the head of the bed. Everyone is okay? What do you do when you're giving heparin? What are you monitoring when you're giving blood thinner? Next question. Bleeding. All blood thinner, what are we monitoring? The bleeding. And not only the word straight bleeding. They're not going to say the word bleeding. Patient has hemoptysis, bleeding. Patient has hematuria, bleeding. Patient's stool test, Guaiac, come back positive. What does it mean? Bleeding. And you got to notify. So remember, we got to connect. Is bleeding doesn't mean will be straight answer bleeding. Patient has petechia is not going to be straight answer, is sign of your pulmonary embolism, or they're going to say, what is pulmonary embolism? Now patient has pulmonary, what would you do? No, we got to figure it. Only what are we getting here? The symptom. And we got to know what is the patient problem. So everyone is okay, is pulmonary embolism. The first sign, early sign, how many books, even you read it, it may not be the same way, but the earliest sign of pulmonary embolism would be petechia. Though we all know hypoxia, though we know is a chest pain, maybe that's there, but do not forget the earliest sign. So that's, I want everyone to remember, positioning, oxygenation, and earliest sign of hypoxia is restlessness, later sign is cyanosis, and as patient has a problem in breathing, dyspnea. Now I'm going to move COPD. COPD very high in our exams because we have a lot of our patients with COPD. So everyone should know COPD is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And what are that comes here, underneath you have bronchitis, emphysema, and asthma. They're not going to say COPD. They may give you a question, and patient has emphysema. So what is patient has? Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Bronchitis, let me move on. Bronchitis is inflammation of the bronchi and is characterized by cough, productive word. What is the meaning productive? When we are taking out the phlegm. Non-productive means you're coughing, but there's no sputum coming out. Are we clear? So productive word means we are taking out the phlegm. Now you will go is dyspnea. And all mostly our lung problem and the breathing problems start from smoking. So we all know one of the reasons. So chronic bronchitis is a coughing, maybe a productive cough, dyspnea, and the reason are smoking. I'm going to move on emphysema. Emphysema is what? Underline the word irreversible. They're not going to be corrected, they're irreversible. And over distension of the lungs, over distension of the air space. What is the air space? I said earlier, alveoli. Remember the word alveoli? Those are the air space we have in the lungs. What happened? They're over distended. Over distended. And they are irreversible. So underline in a lot of questions maybe, what is emphysema? What is COPD? And your answer maybe is over distension of alveoli or air space. Next page, we'll move on, is the wording is emphysema. Earlier, pink puffer. What is the word is pink puffer? Is they have dyspnea, underline. When we are saying pink, mean they are having difficulty in breathing, dyspnea, but without cyanosis. They're not, what is the word cyanosis? Blue. That's why the pink color, because they're having problem in breathing, but the color is not blue. So pink puffers are having what? Dyspnea. Remember that word, and no cyanosis. What is blue bloaters are? When they have chronic problem, or they have hypoxia. Chronic hypoxia lead to, underline the word, cyanosis. What is the meaning cyanosis? They're blue now. Are we clear? And write down on the top dyspnea. They have problem in breathing, but they have what? Blue colors. And so pink puffer, blue bloaters. So usually emphysema patient, they look good. They will have pink puffer, but if they become chronically sick, they would be in a blue bloaters more with hypoxia and cyanosis. They will ask you complication of COPD. I want you to very much memorize like that, because we all should know blue bloaters are, they have cyanosis. Pink puffers, they have dyspnea. Are we okay? And now next is, if you will go, the complications of COPD are, number one, polycythemia. All the blood cells are higher. Polycythemia is blood are more thicker. Poly, blood cells. Cor pulmonary, very important, cor pulmonary. What is the meaning cor pulmonary? Is cor pulmonary means is what? Whenever we see the word cor pulmonary, is heart is affected. Are we clear? What side of the heart is affected? The right side. One reason is COPD, and second reason is left ventricular failure. When patient has left side failure, can lead to cor pulmonary. But which patient has cor pulmonary? Your COPD. That question are very common, and we must monitor patient, because why? The lungs are bad. And now they are affecting what? Is the heart. And what part of the heart is affecting? The right side. Next is, you will go pulmonary edema. Number two complication is pulmonary edema. What is pulmonary edema? Is here is pink frothy sputum. So patient has pulmonary edema, and patient has is called pulmonary. And number three, respiratory failure. Everyone should know this. Respiratory failure, pulmonary edema are the complication of COPD. They may not give word COPD. Patient has emphysema what are we monitoring emphysema patient? Or pulmonary. The heart is affected. So that's important. We already said the pink and the blue bloaters. I'm going on physical assessment. What would you see a patient with COPD and if they have emphysema? The chest, shape of the chest is barrel shaped. Underline that. Everyone, I would say, when I speak, I keep on talking the same way, and we all need to memorize, is the barrel shape. Clubbing of finger. I have a couple of them in the middle, but we all should know you're not getting oxygen. Clubbing of finger. Barrel chest. They have cyanosis, they are blue bloaters, the cyanosis, and X-ray. When they do X-ray, there may be a lot of questions for you guys when you are practicing. You will see on X-ray, hyperinflation of lungs. Lungs are big, they are inflated. And so what is the word is? Hyperinflation. That means the lung, they keep on getting that air is not going out, so they are more inflated. And the diaphragm, remember, we have chest cavity, we have lungs here, and this is our GI system, but in between we have the diaphragm. So when the lungs are bigger and they're inflated, what happened? The diaphragm is flat because there's no room for diaphragm to be having enough room. So what would you see in the X-ray, everyone, is inflated lung, and diaphragm would be depressed or flat. Next is capacity of the lung is decreased. Whenever lungs are bad, what the lungs are going to do, they're not doing it. So the word is called vital capacity of the lungs is decreasing. What the lungs were functioning cannot function. And residual volume is increased. Whatever they were been breathing is staying back. What is residual? Leftover. What is inside the lung are more, that's why they can breathe in more. So the wording are very important, and I can tell you, whatever the books you do question, you're going to find this wording. Number one, what did I say? The barrel chest. Clubbing of finger, we should know. And what do they have? Cyanosis. X-ray, hyperinflated lungs, and diaphragm is more flat. And what I said is residual volume is increased and vital capacity is decreased. Everyone is okay? It will take a while, but I'll tell you, these are exact wording we got to know. So it's good to know, not just knowing some question, oh, I think I know COPD. No, you got to know, how would you see your patient who's coming? Number one, in your assessment, patient has barrel chest. Patient has clubbing of finger. Patient has cyanosis. In your X-ray result, what would you find? We are going to read the X-ray. We are going to look at the result on the X-ray. And what would you see is hyperinflation. What volume is decreased here? Vital capacity is your normal volume of the lung has been decreased. Now we do X-ray to find out for your patient. And what do you do for your patient who has COPD? Let's learn a little bit nursing care. We all are nurses, we should know nursing care of our COPD patient. Number one, oxygen question, always you go 1 to 2 liters. You cannot give them more than 2 liters because it will cause hypoxic to the patient in the brain. And so you're only giving is 1 to 2 liters. Now, I have missed few points in physical assessment. Before I go on intervention, let me complete few things there because I haven't talked about, you guys have, is blood gases, hypoxemia, orthopnea is okay. Because how do you see patients are sitting with COPD? They don't want to lay down because they can't get the breath. So if you see those patients, they like to sit and they're leaning on the table. And they're breathing because they want to sit. The position, you can go semifurous, but what most of the time patients like to sit, orthopneic position. What is orthopenic position? Leaning on the table and you're breathing in. So orthopenic, and correct in your assessment. The last word, it says 8, but weight loss. Very important key for our question for COPD patients are weight loss. And I want you to add skin breakdown because they're very skinny and they have skin breakdown problem. Let's keep the picture of COPD patient. Number one, they're very skinny. They are having hard time to breathe. They're sitting all the time in orthopenic position. And what do you monitor? Half of your questions are going to be on weight. Be clear. Why weight? Because they get so tired with the breathing problem, they don't want to eat. They have no energy for eating their meals. So, barrel chest, I'm repeating again, clubbing of finger, very important. And patient has cyanosis, weight loss, and when you're hearing, you will have in the lungs crackle, hyperinflation, and also vital capacity. But barrel chest, clubbing of finger, weight loss, and a skin problem, keep in your mind as your picture of your patient. Now, what do you do in intervention? We already said oxygenation. You give only 1 to 2 liters. Your questions on diet. What diet do you give when patient is losing weight here? It's not because of the losing weight. The problem are they can't eat more food. So your first answer would be small, frequent meal because they can't eat. So yes, first answer, pay attention. Small, frequent meal. Always is good. Sick patient, they don't want to eat a lot of food. Here, they have a breathing problem. Let's give the small, frequent meal. And what do you increase? In number 2, you have maintained nutrition and small frequent food. Second line, calories. Whenever your patient are losing weight, you increase calorie. When you want to lose weight, then decrease the calories. So you want to give more calories. Now remember, you can give less food with more calories. So they're not eating a lot of food. So what are we increasing here? The calories. What are we increasing? The next thing, protein. They need protein and also add their vitamin C for healing process. Increasing fluid is always good because of the loosening up those secretion. If they are saying all that above, your question are, what do you give here? Calories, give protein, give vitamin C, give small frequent meal, increase fluid, and position is number 4, Fowler's position. Number 5 is mucolytic. Mucolytic drugs are, we have few drugs in the package. We'll be talking about to thin the secretion. Antibiotic, you will give them. Bronchodilator, expectorant are very important. So bronchodilator, expectorant, mucolytic, fluid is good. And so that is about COPD. Now everyone remember the word core pulmonary, barrel chest is important, diet question is important. And what is the area you will see they're going to get the skin breakdown? What area? When you are sitting more is sacral area. So any question on your positioning and prevent them from pressure sore and also monitor the sacral area. I'm moving on asthma. Asthma comes from intrinsic. Asthma precipitated by cold or maybe medication is non-allergic and allergic. And childhood eczema also come with the allergies. So asthma are a lot of allergies coming from childhood. And also remember certain food. That's why in the babies when you're giving the new food, you got to be very careful starting the food. Next page we will move on. Hypoallergic food, you start them with rice, cereal, apple juice, and prevent them. What is the main symptom in asthma are expiratory wheezing. They're wheezing and shortness of breath. Cough, thick tenacious sputum when they have a status asthmatic attack. When they have bad attack of asthma, it can lead to collapse and death. They can't breathe. And so a lot of time you will have when they're bad status asthmatic. You can hear the sound, wheezing sound on inspiration and expiration. You can add there on status asthmatic. Medication on, I want you to go status asthmatic, short-term and long-term, underline the word B2, antagonistic, anti-inflammatory medication, oxygen, aminophylline is bronchodilator, and antibiotic. So asthma is allergies and problem with the breathing, and they're treated with the medication, bronchodilator, antibiotic if they had infection. Now I will move the word is Legionnaires disease. What is a Legionnaires disease? Is bacterial infection. It's a bacterial infection, and I want you to add there gram-negative bacteria. And the last word, it says Legionella pneumophilia. So correct the spelling, pneumophilia. It says Pneumophilia. Pneumophilia. That's the bacterial infection. How does it get the infection? It's a type of pneumonia coming from bacterial, also gram-negative bacteria, and underline the word contaminated air conditioning and cooling, and tower from stagnated water supply. So remember one word, this pneumonia is coming from water supply, and including vaporizer, whirlpool, shower, and you're getting the bacteria and they're growing. I want you to write down the temperature, the water temperature. If it is 77 to 107 degree temperature is leading with the bacterial growth. Now, I want you to add the risk. Which are the high-risk patients or people are to get this pneumonia? Number one, diabetic patients. So risk are, so you guys add there, which are the risk patients are pneumonia. Somebody who had pneumonia and already before infection, but very important is your diabetic patient, because diabetic patients are low resistance. Second thing is pulmonary disease. So I want you, which patient can be high risk? Diabetic. And also, if you have, is the second one, any pulmonary disease. Any pulmonary disease, that means the lungs are already weaker. And immune compromise. Anybody immune system is low, they're going to get the disease easily. And it comes from water, and its cause is pneumonia. Now, what are the data collections are, is number one. Start is more influenza-like symptom, but then underline the word, the fever goes high, and add their dyspnea. They won't be able to breathe, having problem in breathing, dyspnea. And second line, it says dry cough. It starts with dry cough, but add there, later it become more productive cough, because there are some question I came across and they had the productive cough. So when the disease advances, it can be a productive. Productive means they're taking out the phlegm, they're taking out the sputum. Diarrhea, very important, add their diarrhea. So fever they have, they're coughing, they're having breathing problem, and they can be with the productive cough. And what do you do? Intervention, antibiotic, because it's infection. They're going to treat with antibiotic. And common drug is also they're using, write down the word azithromycin. Azithromycin can be also given. One of the question I came, that was the answer. What drug do you treat them? Azithromycin. And so that is the antibiotic. And also write down in management, give oxygen and hydration. You got to increase more fluid to loosen up the secretion. So, and they do the treatment. Supportive treatment means as patient symptoms are there, but how to be treated is by antibiotics. So everyone, what is Legionella disease? Type of pneumonia comes from water supply. Are we clear? And you treat them by antibiotic. Next is the word is pleural effusion. What is pleural effusion? Is the fluid around where? Pleural space. Remember the lungs. And our lungs have layer, and those are covering our parietal and visceral layer. In between those layers, the fluid is there. So what is a pleural space? Around the lungs between the layer, and it's called pleural space. And what is pleural effusion? When you see the word effusion, remember the word fluid around the lungs. What does the patient has? Pain. Now here, remember, your questions are according to the disease symptom. And what would be the symptom here in pleural effusion? They may use word pleuritic. If they're using pleuritic, you will know plural. And pleural effusion. They may not give pleuritic, and they might say sharp pain on inspiration. So what is pleuritic pain? When they're breathing in, they have a very bad chest pain. Number 2, they have dyspnea and non-productive cough. If the fluid is more, they might have is coughing, tachycardia, fever, and all that symptom. But in X-ray, medial sternal shift, the medial part shift, if the fluid is more, they're shifting the area. So everyone, one word, pleural effusion, the fluid in pleural space. And where is the pain? On inspiration. Are we clear? And patient has cough, non-productive. Why? Because nothing inside is outside around the lung. So when they're coughing, is non-productive. But yes, if they have infection, they will have tachycardia and fever is high. So pleural effusion is around the lung. How do you treat the patient here? You will do the X-ray. You will know patient has pleural effusion. X-ray would be done. Positioning, Fowler's. And what do you do? Because there is a fluid, is remove the fluid. So what is the word is called? Thoracentesis. So what is the procedure is done here? Thoracentesis. And they may, if effusion keep on coming back, they may have to remove the area, or they say the word pleurectomy. And so, but first thing is thoracentesis, antibiotic would be done, and the main thing is patient has a lot of chest pain, fever because of the infection. See, the wording is important, the pain is important. Empyema word. What is empyema? Pus. Underline the word. Now we have pus. Where? In the pleural space or pleural cavity, same area. But instead of fluid, there's more infection and there's a pus there. So when there is a pus, the word changes and say empyema. So patient has pus. What kind of pus is that? Could be thick, opaque, and foul smelling because the bad infection. Causes. What are the reasons? Could be patient has empyema. Number 1, pulmonary infection, lung abscess. Maybe they had surgery. Maybe there is a chest trauma. Any trauma, surgery, infection can lead to. What are the data collection, which is in the bottom? I will go first, data collection. Pain, dyspnea. They have problem in breathing, but underline the word night sweat. Which are the other patient has night sweat? In TB patient. So remember, the similar is infection is bad, they have night sweat, and pleural exudate. When you do X-ray, you can see the fluid around the lungs. So they have pain, they have cough, they have dyspnea, and they may have fever. You can add if the bad infection, yes, the pus is there. Intervention. What do you do? Positioning. All your positioning, we are going to keep the head elevated, semi-Fowler's, high Fowler's position. And antibiotic is important to treat the infection. And splinting the chest, because when they're breathing would be very painful. So what do you do? The word splint the chest. Thoracentesis. Maybe they have to put the chest tube to drain the fluid. So highlight that word. And decortication. What is the decortication word is? Pleural thickening and removing the mass. The area become very thick. And decortication means is removing the big mass which is around the lungs. But first thing, they will remove the fluid, treat them for infection. Pain medication is good, fluid is good, and monitor for infection. Pleurisy word. What is the word pleurisy here? Is the inflammation of the visceral and parietal membrane. So what is pleurisy? Inflammation. There's no fluid. What is here? Inflammation. Highlight the word inflammation. In the membrane. In the inflammation of, remember, I said there are two layers, parietal and visceral, and that's covering the lung. So parietal and visceral layer, they have inflammation. And underline the third line, visceral and parietal membrane, they're rubbing together. There's an inflammation and visceral parietal, they rub together during breathing, respiration. When you're breathing, these membranes are rubbing together and causing what? Pain. So remember, the word pleurisy is inflammation. Empyema word was the pus. Are we clear? Effusion word was the fluid. Now what kind of pain? See, everyone has a little different in the pain. Now what kind of pain is knife-like pain or aggravated pain during breathing and coughing? So what kind of pain? Like sharp pain or life knife. Sometimes they have, in some question I was doing, had a sharp stabbing pain. I want you to write down knife-like pain or sharp stabbing pain. So there are some questions and they don't use the word knife-like pain. A lot of books you have knife-like pain, but they're very sharp stabbing pain. Add that. And it's called another word, when you hear the lung sound. What do we hear? Pleural friction rub. Underline the word pleural friction rub. How do you treat them? So everyone is okay, knife-like pain, stabbing pain, and what are the layers? They're rubbing together. So when you hear the lung sound, what do you hear? Pleural friction rub. They're rubbing together. You can hear the rub sound. Next is treatment are for the cause, lung sound you assess, pain medication, analgesic, heat and cold application. There is inflammation. You can apply is just for comfort. Patient may splint by laying on the side where there is a pain. So they can lay on that side. I will move on. The next is TB. What isolation do you took TB patient? What isolation? Airborne. Very good. So airborne precaution. And do we close the door? Yes. Okay, so I'll go. We do have here in about isolation all your exam infection control number 1. So remember all your infection control isolation. TB. TB caused by, underline the word, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. They are giving the germs. They're not giving TB. They're giving the germs. So Mycobacterium. Underline the word, second line, aerobic. They're aerobic bacteria, multiply in air. Acid-fast bacillus. This is the way half of your question. Patient is admitted with acid-fast bacillus. What isolation you will put? Airborne, and that is TB. So remember, they're not going to give you patient has TB. You remember the word acid-fast, Mycobacterium, aerobic bacteria. Non-compliance, meaning they don't follow medication. Person who is improper in medication, non-compliance, they're not taking. What do you monitor if you don't take your medication, especially when they have TB, is called MDRS. MDRS is the bacteria or tubercle bacillus in the second line result in multi-drug resistant strain. What do they become? Multi-drug resistant strain, MRDS. Risk factor. Who are high risk to get TB? Number 1, children, under age, younger than 5 years of age. Unpasteurized milk, underline, from cow infected with bovine tuberculosis. Unpasteurized milk. Number 3, very important, homeless, lower socio-economic group, long-term care, nursing home patients, and prison, mental health facility, malnutrition, HIV patient, immune compromise. Now remember, these are going to be in your question. Which patient is going to be high risk? And remember, all nursing home patients, we screen them for TB. As the patient comes in, all patients must be screened for TB. And because it's a lot of patients, there are a lot of people out there. Diagnosis, how do we do diagnosis? Now we all know we do PPD. PPD is not your diagnosis. Chest X-ray is not your diagnosis. How do you confirm the diagnosis? Only by sputum. You cannot tell anybody who has TB if you do PPD. If your X-ray shows possible pneumonia, it doesn't mean patient has a possible TB, that patient has TB. Unless you do what? A sputum. So question, how do you confirm TB? Your answer should be only by sputum. And what is the sputum? Has acid fast. We already talked about Mycobacterium tuberculosis. What do? Your patient is acute TB. Now, another thing I want to remind you guys, if your question is, if anybody, when we are working, and you are in a nursing home or in a home, and your patient has to be a positive TB after sputum X-ray, what would you do? You're going to call the doctor, yes? Then what do? Public health department. We must notify all to public health, whether it's acute hospital, whether it's a nursing home, every infection control must be reported to public health. Why? Because patient goes home, they are the one going to keep follow up these infections. And they will see everyone is doing the right, and we have the same pattern to control those infections. So don't forget any question, and even when we are working, we got to know who is calling the public health department. And we always notify any communicable disease, not only TB, all communicable disease. What do? Underline the word respiratory, and I want you to write down the word airborne precaution. Negative pressure, close the door, underline the word 6 exchange air, and ventilated outside is important. Door you can close. Next page, we will move on. Particulate respiratory mask we are going to use, or N95. Gown is okay to wear, gloves when you're going in patient room to do the patient care, and that is important that you are protecting from the body fluid. But is important is the mask. If patient has to leave the room, you can wear a mask and write down the surgical mask, regular mask you will use on patient. I will read through a few more things here on your education client with TB. We all should know in your teaching question. Number 1, make sure your patient has enough medication supply at home, because they must take regularly. If they have no medication, somehow public health, whatever, we got to produce. Because if they don't take medication, it's not going to help. So medication should be enough at home. Number 2 is reassure 2 to 3 weeks. Once you start medication, you are unlikely client will infect. That means they're not going to cause infection. Medication has been started. Number 3, patient is going home. What do you teach them? Resume activity slowly. Very important. Their energy level is low. Number 4, diet. Well-balanced diet is when they're going home. And vitamin C, protein, iron, which is number 5. And number 6, family member don't need to be isolated because they have already been exposed. Number 7, in your teaching, covering the mouth and the nose when they are coughing and sneezing. And Kleenex or the tissue must be disposed in a special or separate bag and then disposed properly. Don't throw here and there because that we are exposing the infection. Hand washing is good. Sputum culture every 2 to 4 weeks. Why? To see the medication therapy is working. Then number 10 is 3 sputum culture is negative before you are removing a patient from isolation. So 3 negative culture. But once patients start medication, they do check how the medication is working every 2 to 4 weeks. Number 11, follow-up appointment. Remember, it's important patient is going home with the medication. Next is SARS, is acute respiratory syndrome. SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS comes from, underline one word, viral, coronavirus. So SARS it's a respiratory problem, but comes from this infection, respiratory illness from coronavirus. Symptom, you will go fever, a mild, correct here, add L, respiratory symptom, patient has dry cough. Remember the word dyspnea, hypoxemia, it can lead to. They start with simple symptom with fever and body ache and also mild symptom, but they can go in hypoxemia, pneumonia, and dry cough. Prevention, here you guys correct here, avoid traveling countries with, not without, with an outbreak. When there's an outbreak, traveling should be restricted because you're getting infection. Crowd, avoid the crowd. Very frequent these infections are in Canada, Switzerland, and Germany. How do you diagnose them? Nasopharyngeal and oropharyngeal swab. You can take it, and you can also do the blood and the stool. In sputum culture, they can see influenza AB and RSV virus. So you guys can highlight just few wording, and also serum, blood, they can see antibodies, IgM and IgG. Those two are good wording. And remember, one wording, coronavirus here, and you can do nasopharyngeal, oropharyngeal swab. They can do in the sputum, they can see influenza, AB and RSV. They can look for the serum test and IgM and IgG. Management is a airborne, but write down, highlight the word contact precaution. Antibodies, that means antibiotics are given. Antiviral, it's a viral infection, so give them antiviral medication. They're having a lot of breathing problem. Last word, you have surfactant and suction is good to do it, and make sure follow up the technique. So SARS word, as soon as you see, is a viral. Coronavirus, they're treated by viral infection, and contact precautions you will go for. I do have few medication to finish, and then I will go a little bit on the respiratory, and I want to talk a little bit about pneumonia. So let me go over a few drugs here, and then we'll take a break. Is medication, bronchodilator. Main wording I will give you, and you highlight, I gave you 2 packages. In bronchodilator, when they give you bronchodilator, and I have it here, be adrenergic antagonistic. You must know that, the bronchodilator. Which one? Albuterol, underline the word. And Zaxopan, third one. Oral, you can give albuterol, terbutaline. Why do you give bronchodilator? Dilate the airway. Second line, relax the muscle. So we all know why do we give bronchodilator. First thing we all should remember, be adrenergic. We must know the category. And what do we do when patients are taking bronchodilator? They help them to dilate. And you do have xanthine bronchodilator, and they stimulate, highlight the word nervous system. Then next is you have theophylline, and the last two line, bronchodilator can be also used for allergies, highlight, rhinitis, sinusitis. Now you can use for COPD patient and asthma patient, bronchodilator, but also they can treat for allergies. Next page is very important is when you're giving bronchodilator, very careful or contraindicated, underline the word cardiac. If they have cardiac problem, dysarrhythmia word, thyroid, hyper, whatever hyperthyroid, they have tachycardia, heart is affected, and seizure. Next line, diabetic patient, glaucoma patient, you got to be careful. These are all your questions in different book on your medication. So if you know some of the thing, cardiac is very important, hyperthyroid. Theophylline, what does it do when you're using theophylline? That's a bronchodilator. Digoxin, underline, lithium, dilantin. What does it affect? Digoxin decreases the increasing digoxin, decreasing lithium and dilantin. So what happened? Digoxin can cause toxicity and decreasing the effect of lithium and dilantin. Then I like you to leave that and go on side effect. Very important, we all should know side effect. Tachycardia, palpitation. So when you're taking is causing tachycardia, palpitation, that's why you've got to be careful when already patient has heart problem. Are we clear? And nervousness. Second line, I want you to highlight the word hyperglycemia. That's why you've got to be careful with diabetic patient because increasing the sugar. Intervention, cardiac dysarrhythmia, monitor for wheezing. Then I want you to go in the bottom and it says, avoid caffeinated products. Very important, coffee, cola, chocolate. Why? Because it will cause more pulse rate increases, diabetic patient. Everyone should know the normal theophylline level is 10 to 20. Now those are important things we all have to know. So I have some of the answers here. Next page, SAS word. What is the word SAS? Is you're giving IV, you give saline first, then drug, and then wash with saline, or you have a separate line. Expectorant and mucolytic. What is expectorant? Are losing the secretion, underline that. Mucolytic also thin the mucus secretion in the third line. So mucolytic is good, expectorant are good, and what is mucolytic does? Thin the secretion. I want you to move into where it says acetylcysteine. Everyone should know this drug. Acetylcysteine is called mucomist. And you are also using, write down on the side, for Tylenol toxicity. So if you have a question, what is the antidote for Tylenol? Your antidote for Tylenol is acetylcysteine and mucomist. Everyone is okay? So please add there, acetylcysteine and mucomist are antidote. Side effects are oropharyngeal. Side effect of acetylcysteine, if you will move in the bottom, is stomatitis. Highlight that. Expectorant are, what are your expectorant? It says pulmozyme. Correct the spelling, Z-Y-M-E, zyme. Humibate, robitussin. These come under expectorant. Now, the next page we have is antitussive medication. For cough, antitussive are, I want you to write down on the side, opiates. What is antitussive are? You are stopping the cough. And what are the drugs are? Is your opiates, codeine, all your codeine comes under antitussive. hydrocodone. Anywhere hydrocodone or codeine opiates that comes under antitussive. Remember the word antitussive is stopping the cough and controlling and suppressing where? Underline the word medulla in the brain. Next line, side effect. Very important, monitor for respiratory depression. So whenever we are giving antitussive, means you have codeine, opiate, what is it depressing? Respiratory. Intervention. Number 3, very important. Don't give them if they have head injury. Number 5, no alcohol with that. Number 6, elevate the head of the bed so they can breathe. Deep TB medication. How long do you give TB medication? 6 to 9 months. Underline second line. HIV patient will take longer than maybe 9 months. So 6 to 9, normally we treat them. Next page, if you move on. INH, highlight. Everyone should know the name is TB medication. Contraindicated. First line, liver. Any liver problem, you cannot give INH. I want you to go side effect. You can start reading, but let's go side effect. Very important is peripheral neuritis. What is peripheral neuritis? Affecting the nerve. And why? Underline the word B6 deficiency, which is called pyridoxine. Correct here, instead of U, make it Y, pyridoxine. So what is the deficiency it caused? B6. So remember, you give B6 to your patient. And also highlight the word vision. So these are main things we all need to know about INH. Next page is client education. Give them an empty stomach with 8 ounces of water. Client education, empty stomach with 8 ounces of water. Rifampin. Next drug is rifampin, TB medication. Side effect, highlight the word red-orange body secretion. The body fluid changes red color. What do you monitor when you're giving rifampin? That's a TB medication. Eyes, visual. Underline the word visual. Now, ethambutol in the bottom of the page, another drug is ethambutol. And go to the next page. Ethambutol is contraindicated to the children, underline 13 years of age. And also, don't give to gout patient. Second line, gout, cataract, and diabetic. Now, side effect is very important, is optic neuritis. Write down the word eyes. It's affecting the eyes. So what do you check when you're giving or before? Eyes. And last word, increasing uric acid. Now, next drug is mycobutin. Mycobutin is good for HIV patients, so highlight the word. Side effect, neutropenia. Number 1, what is neutropenia? White blood count is low. Next page is PZA, is also medication. I won't go a lot on PZA, you guys can read it, but very important, take it with food in instruction. Next page, antihistamine are given for allergies. And what drug do you give for allergies? Are, underline the word Zyrtec, chlorotrimethon, Benadryl, Allergia, Claritin, Actifed, and side effect are underlined in the second line. Anytime you're giving antihistamine, photosensitivity and drowsiness, no driving. The last on this page, inhaled non-steroidal anti-allergy medication are, write down the word for asthma. And these are used for asthma, is called mast cell stabilizer. Whenever you will see the drug, they are called mast cell stabilizer, and underline the word Intel or Chromalin they're using for asthma patients. So just write down the wording. It won't come in one day. We keep repeating those medication. Is side effect is important here, is instruct the client to take few sip of water to prevent cough and the taste. Fourth line, don't stop abruptly. On the third line, why? Because it causes rebound asthmatic attack. Leukotriene modifier, these are also for asthma, singular and accolade. So highlight that word. And that is covering for your medication, contraindicated for liver, hepatic. Side effects are myalgia, nausea, and vomiting. Now, we will take a 10 minutes break, and then I want to go few things more. There are 2 more packages, but we have finished here on the respiratory lot of disorders, and let's take a break now. You want to get a